Okay, good morning all.
Morning.
Who was here yesterday? Besides Macville? Yes? Okay. So for those who were here yesterday, this will just be some sort of continuation for those who weren't. Let's begin. Let's begin. Okay, so we're talking yesterday the Sukkot or Sukkot, the holiday that is rapidly approaching, coming up in a couple of days. And that is what exactly is it? And what are we supposed to make of it? Now, we talked about the fact that we got kapara, that is atonement from Yom Kippur, that we got some sort of good stuff happening for us. But anyway, now we come out and was mentioned beautifully by Shane, who's not here, but he was here yesterday, sitting in the seat next to you. And he said an idea about connecting with God and whatnot, which I guess is every religion. That's what I meant. Every holiday, and every religion as well. Hopefully, it's not what religion is, I guess, but technically. In any event, the idea goes like this: what are we doing on the day of Sukkot? So I'll tell you, I was deeply troubled for many years until this morning about a Mishnah. There's a Mishnah that's found in Cherokee Indian, and this Mishnah troubled me for many years. And I was just talking with somebody named Eric Cooper-Smith, and he gave me a very, I don't think it's something that is necessarily, maybe it's not novel to you. It could be, I'm going to say it's going to be obvious to you, and that might be only because it has become obvious to me. So now I brought it into the world, and now it's obvious to you. And it goes like this. Listen to the following idea. The Mishnah says the following idea. It says, Ezehu Ashir Hasamech Bechalko. Very famous idea. Who is someone who is rich? Who is rich?
Someone who's happy with what he has.
Somebody who's happy with his lot, his portion, right? That which he's got, yeah? And I'll tell you what I was bothered by that idea. Okay, let me ask you, is anyone bothered by that statement? Who is rich? Someone who's happy with his portion. Is anyone bothered by that? Does that make sense to you? Are you good with it? Are you at peace with it? Does it make, yeah?
I'm not.
Explain.
I don't like the word happy in that statement.
Okay.
And it might just be the translation.
What does happy mean to you?
Well, happy is almost a flirtatious experience. Contentment is a lot deeper than
So
happiness.
now I think we're stuck in semantics, and that's what you meant probably. It just might be a mistranslation of the word happy, right?
Yeah.
Now, even within the word happy itself, we'd have a bit of a problem because
It's
you ask 4 people what does happy mean, you'll probably get 4 different answers, right? You know, the classic, you ask 2 Jews, you'll end up with 3 answers. Right, or 4. This just in 5. Because the idea of what we have is that. But still, let's put that issue aside and call it content. Call it whatever makes you happy. I mean, the idea of what we have, nonetheless, is that Ezo Ashir, who's someone who's rich, someone who's happy with his lot, with his portion. I don't have a problem with that statement. You guys are good with that? That's good. That's cool. No one's fine with that idea. You guys are good with that?
Well, it depends if you're talking finances, because someone who has $10 billion might want, $12 billion and not consider themselves rich.
So then you're good with the statement.
I mean, I guess it depends on the terms and stuff.
The way you just said it, you're cool.
No, because they might not think that they're rich.
But they're not happy.
Right, they're not happy. Exactly.
And they're not rich.
Right.
This isn't asking who isn't rich. It's saying who is rich. Allow me to elaborate on that idea. Okay, so what you just said, it answered the question for me. Now, it's easy. For me, I would have said differently. This requires a little bit of background in Hebrew. I would have said, Ezehu Meushar. In other words, who is with an aleph. Ezu Osher, Ashir with an aleph. Anyone know that the difference? With an ayin, it means, generally speaking, it means money, right? Osher. But other Osher than aleph means fortunate, means also with an idea of happiness and content and whatever, where everything comes together. Ezu Osher, Ezu Mehushar, and Mehushar would work probably better grammatically with the rest of the Mishnah. Ezu Mechubad, Ezu Gibor, that's not Megubar. And the bottom line of what we have is that Ezu Mehushar, Ezu Osher with an aleph, which means content or happiness. Why is it here with an ayin, Ezu Ashir? Who is happy? Who is rich? Someone who's happy with what he's had. I would say, who is happy? Someone who's happy with what he has. No what?
It doesn't make sense.
What doesn't make sense?
Who is happy with what they have.
Yeah. Who's happy? Who's a person who's happy?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's happy with what they have, they are happy.
No, because then you're acting as if happiness is a result of something, and it's not.
Okay, what's happiness?
Happiness is a means to an end rather than an end to a means.
Let's say it's a means to an end. How do you get it?
Well, then you can't really, because you're never at the end.
So a person can never get happiness.
If that's the definition.
Forget my definition. You tell me, what does happiness mean?
Happiness is a choice that allows you to be really grateful.
How do you get that choice?
How do you get that
Yeah,
choice?
you make a choice to get it, correct?
Yeah.
So in other words, it's a result of something. It's a result of a choice.
It's your own choice. You give yourself the choice.
No problem. I'll give myself the choice to be happy. How am I going to get happy? I'm going to make a choice today. I'm going to say I am happy.
Yeah.
It's an emotional state.
It is an emotional state, 100%. It's an attitude, no question about it. My question is, could it be that a person will say, I am happy, and they really make the choice to be happy, but they won't be happy? Is that possible?
No. Because then that's not a real choice.
Okay, so now, this is where, excuse me for this, but this is where I think this is a self-fulfilled prophecy. In other words, you have in your head the following idea. If you didn't actually be happy, it means you didn't make the choice. And I'm going to say, why? Why can't I make the choice, but I didn't get it yet? You say, no, clear, you know. I say I want to go on a diet, but then I don't go on a diet. Does that mean I didn't want to go on a diet? I did want to go on a diet, but I want another thing more.
But the wanting to be happy is very different than being happy.
Oh, well, how do you word it then? You said make a choice to be happy. How do you make the choice without saying want? I be happy?
I accept.
I accept happiness.
No, I accept whatever I've got.
Oh,
No. I accept what I've got, out of which I will become happy.
so, no, she's arguing at that point.
Yeah, I don't think so.
She doesn't like that either. That's what I'm saying. The Mishnah is saying.
It's like a positive and a negative.
Go on.
You gotta be positive. You can get up in the morning and say, I'm really gonna have a terrible day. And then you can change.
Let's do it
that.
differently. I'm going to have a great day today. And then you come to realize that everything that happens to you during that day is terrible. What'd you say? What'd you say?
It's not such thing.
Oh, it's not terrible. So you decide to look at it like it's not terrible, right? So you decide to look at it like really it's good. Is that right? So you decide to look at it in a way that you say, oh, this is something which is good to have. So what you're saying is you're focused on the fact that you're happy that you have that. So you're saying now you're happy because you focus on what you have. You just went in a circle. So bottom line is, what do we see? What do you want to say? What do you want to say?
So bring this more to full circle. So back
yeah.
to what I was saying before with $10 million, $12 million. Okay, so now you've got someone who has $3 to their name, but they feel rich because they're happy with their
So
portion.
you're saying exactly the
But
mission.
now, from an outside perspective, that's all. It's not an objective thing. It's a subjective thing to be rich. That if in your terms, because if that $3 makes them happy, and from an outside perspective, someone who has $10 million says that they're not
It's
rich.
an objective feeling from a subjective reality. The bottom line is that what comes down to is subjective to the person, but it's really objective because the feeling that comes from it. We're on the same page. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. 100% agreeing with you. I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm going to say it. What I said, I didn't play out like that, but I did. But listen again. Give me 1 second, big man. Big man. Okay, so I say it like this. Yeah, I make a choice to be happy. It's true. You can make a choice to be happy. What will take away from that happiness?
If you're not healthy.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe a person would say, I'm happy in spite of my lack of health, or even if I'm not healthy, I'm still happy. When will a person have the ability to say that I'm happy even though I'm not healthy?
When you get sick.
That would be a practical answer. But I mean to say, when a person gets sick, and then they go ahead and decide to be happy, even though they understand they're sick, what are they saying?
They're saying I appreciate
They are
it,
accepting the fact that their sickness is not considered bad.
Yeah.
Correct or not?
Correct.
In other words, they are content with that which they have. What they have, they are happy with, therefore, entonces, they become happy. Then you want to say it happens this way, it happens that way. The bottom line is, that's what's occurring. That's the process which is happening. So at the end of the day, not only do I not agree with you, I agree with you because we're saying the same thing. So what now the Mishnah says, now I mean, you gave the answer which disturbed me. I wish I would have met you earlier. but the idea is like this. I would have said, who is happy? Someone who is happy with what he has. Who is happy? Someone who's happy with that. Why does it say who is rich? Someone who's happy with that. So the Maharal comes along and says, beautiful idea. Maharal says that, let me ask you this question. If somebody owns 10 villas, yeah. If they own 10 villas, are they rich?
What's the definition of rich then?
Like
Physically,
physically,
like taxis got
If they own 10 villas, are they rich?
like physically, like yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Why don't they own
Like how much
20?
do they owe?
What?
And you know
Why don't they own
that's
20?
all.
Okay, they own 20, they own 40, they own 80, they own 60. Oh, good, right now. Someone owns these things. Are they rich?
Depends how
No.
you define rich.
It depends. Someone has more than them, so then they're considered poor.
Okay,
I mean,
so
that's
I was
more
looking for
wealthy.
another answer. These are all
They're
correct.
more wealthy. They're not really.
I wanted to say the
relative.
following. Not even more wealthy, let's say. The answer is like this.
Exactly.
Where are the villas? He owns 10 villas in Haiti. Yeah? Wow. Maybe that is right, I don't know. But let's say it's not, yeah? So you could own 10 apartments in French Hill, where I live. Or you could own one in Rehavia. And which one is worth more financially in terms of money? In dollars or in pesos? Bottom line, which one is actually equals more? So we find that Maral says you can't say that having X amount is going to give you the concept of rich. Because rich in and of itself is a scale that constantly moves. And it's only dependent on other things. You get that? Then it becomes unbelievably subjective. But rather, the Mishnah is telling us, I'll take it a step further. I never heard this name, and I'm not embarrassed of it, I just never heard the name. Anyone ever heard someone named Howard Hughes?
Yeah, the airplane.
I never heard of him until this morning. Never heard of him.
Airplane.
Never heard of him.
Right? Well, it's,
Howard Hughes.
So
Did he have a lot of money?
Huge cargo
Yeah.
plane.
What? Did he have a lot of money?
For something goose.
He had a lot of money. But even though he had a lot of money, it was a well-known thing, apparently. I wasn't aware of this till this morning when I heard his name, that became well-known to me. That Howard Hughes was a miserable person. Miserable individual. Didn't give money, was what they call a tight person, and other words of saying that. Was a miserable person. He was a Scrooge. The guy didn't give anything. So what did I? Was the guy rich? Not only is he not, listen to this is the Mishnah's teaching you. Not only is he not rich, he's poor. There are people, I'm sure there's in the what's that, DSM, is that what it's called? The manual that comes out of it, what's that? Why do you know it, how come you? Anyway, so yeah, it's one that the DSM, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not. Anyway, I'm sure there's a disease for it, then what do we have? That a person who has so much money but they can't give. And there are people like that, people that are unbelievably wealthy, but they can't give their money, they can't give it. Well, what's wrong? Right? They can't give the money, but they are billionaires. They can't do it. They can't do it. Are they rich? They're poor. The Mishnah is saying, Ezehu Ashir, who's a rich person? This is rich. You can have no money and be rich. You can have all the money in the world and be poor. That's what the point is. You get it? Ezehu Ashir. What is Sukkot all about? What's Sukkot all about? The answer depends who's here speaking, because everyone will say, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you today what it's about. Yeah? At least let's put it this way so we can make room for others. One of the things it's about is the following idea. We go out and we leave our homes and we go into a sukkah. We live in a hut. We live out in a hut. Why do we live out in a hut? So there's a number of different reasons. Yesterday we talked about the Vilna Gaon, talking about the idea of Golos. A person goes to Golos and the fact that we get sort of atonements, what happens to God, the idea of getting exiled themselves, and therefore what happens to get some atonement to that? One answer. Hello, we talk about the fact that the Lord loves us, and he gives a big hug. That's also another one. But there's another one that we're saying, the reason is, what's this time of year? This is when everyone's gathering up all the crops, they're getting all their stuff, they're bringing all, what ends up happening then? The person gathers all the stuff, what do they start to feel? Rich. How do you feel? Kochi ve'atzmiyoti. I got the power. A person starts to go ahead. That's one. A person goes ahead, and they start to get together their stuff. How do you feel? Think about it. I want to ask people: has anyone here ever carried a large sum of money before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A large sum. I mean, like, give me a number.
10,000.
100,000 grand. Okay, I said no. A large sum, not grand. Okay,
$1,000.
come on. How much money?
10.
$10,000 cash.
Yeah.
In a suitcase with a little, there goes things, like handcuffs, yeah? Like you got $10,000. Who else? Anyone bigger? That's all you got? People, come on, we went through this already. $10,000. Come on. How much have we got? How much? Okay, $10,000. Well, we carry money. Now, someone's going to argue with me, and then we'll just have a silly discussion, but let's just jump to the end and just all agree with me. And that's why. That when we carry a lot of money, how do you feel?
Defensive. Power.
What'd you say? Defensive?
Yeah.
Or you say like watching around like people
Scared.
Or
If you're coming to get rid of it.
it doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter why. You might be carrying this money just to pay your bills. You got it just to pay the bills.
Right.
Or you're just carrying it for someone else. You're a delivery man. But if you hold like a suitcase of $100,000, you all ready. You put on your glasses, right? You go out there looking around. And some guy behind you is like, hello. You're like, what? Right? You get all freaked out. And this, when we carry a lot of money, we feel rich. I feel good too. So what happens is we start to feel a way that, like, right, we feel rich. It's not even ours. We could just be delivering it for someone. You hold a lot of money, there's a certain feeling of the wow. Yes, when you step outside, it's like, well, I better not lose this. So I'm scared, defensive, and whatever you carry. But there's a certain feelings coming on, even if it's not yours. How much so if it is yours? When it is yours, how do you feel? Oh, I got all this money. I got all this money, how do I feel? Ooh, I feel good. And we're talking about even if you're going to pay all those bills. What if you're not going to pay all those bills? What if you're going to put it right into your account? Ooh, you watch those numbers grow. You had $12, now there's $112. Right? You start to feel like I have more. Comes along, Sukkot, and says what? Get out of your house. Get out of your house, leave your property, leave your stuff. And now it's hard to understand because a lot of people in their house have a sukkah. Has anyone ever seen that before? I had that in an apartment. It wasn't good because it leaked all year, but I was not there for sukkahs when I lived there, so I never ended up using it. So, but there was a removable roof. The roof was on water. You lift it up a little and then slide it back, and then you have this open area, and the walls are already there, and you put the stock. So it's kind of like, leave your house. Like, okay, lift up, and the stock comes on, it starts to rain, electric thing comes over. It's like a crazy thing you never left. But the bottom line, the concept is to leave this concept. Even if you're staying in your house, it's okay. Why? Because what's the most important part of the house? The most important part is the fridge. But after the fridge, the most important part of the house is the roof. If you have no roof, wonderful. As everyone says, put a roof over your head. What about walls? Yeah? What about having walls? Don't worry about walls. We'll deal with that later. First, we'll start with a roof. A roof is a very important fact. That's the thing which is going to save some of the elements and all the different ideas. What happens? Like hydrogen and carbon and all the elements. Okay, so we have the idea. So what is that when we go ahead and we leave our house to say, enough of this stuff. Don't get so caught up in this idea. This is not going to help you. Not only is it not going to help you, it's going to get you caught up in a way which is going to make you miserable. Like Shlomo Melech says, oh, if kesef lo yispa kesef. Someone who loves money is never satiated with money, and they never become rich. Someone who loves money is never satiated with money, and they never become rich. Tell me something, is it not true? How did the Indians make all their, how did the casinos make all their money? How did they make all their money? You think it's, very good. Gambling. You think like, oh, no, it's not true. Don't be cliche. What do you mean don't be cliche? How do they make their money? They make their money based off one principle. People think that a share means a lot of money. So what happens? You could win $500 in a casino. I'll talk about myself, okay? And maybe some of you will come along for the ride. Has anyone here ever experienced, like me, I will go into a casino. I took my wife into a casino. It was in, okay, Costa Lake was better, but we went into a casino in Montreal. Now Montreal, So basically we go in and we played blackjack, I think it was. And I put down $10. She's like, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm putting down $10, and I'm getting chips, and I put the chip down. She's like, well, why are you putting it there? Let's keep it. I was like, well, this is how this works, right? She's like, oh, okay, fine. We played a hand, and we won. My wife was like, what happened? I'm like, we won, $10. Yeah, so she's like, wow. Now, I can't remember now anymore. She's like, I think she said, like, let's do it again. It's like, let's do it again. She probably said, let's walk out. But I think, in my mind, I'd like to think, she said, let's do it again. She's like, let's leave. I'm like, again? Right? So, okay, so what happened? I go ahead. I thought that's what you said. Right? So I went ahead, and I put it down again, and we lost. And we lost all the money. She goes, well, what's going on? Why are they taking it? I said, we lost. She's like, what are you talking about? We lost. That's our money. I'm like, you don't get it. We lost. It's on. She's like, well, what are we doing here, right? I was like, this is fun, honey. This is fun. He's like, no, it is. Okay, so we ended up leaving. But the bottom line is that what happens at a casino? You win $500, you win $1,000. And what do people do? I could win $2,000. And then comes the word double or nothing. Where did that come from? Shlomo Melech, the Gemara. The person has money, you're at Masai, person gets 100, they want 200. You get 200, you want 400. You get 400, you want 800. This is a scientific concept based off a Talmudic statement that says, right, which is the accuracy of I don't think the Jews, not just as well, a concept of what's going on in terms of Islam. But what we have is, this is what it comes down to, people. It comes down to the fact that we love these things. Therefore comes Sukkot and says, get out. Get out, stop it. Stop it. Don't get caught up. Let me explain to you. An amazing opportunity. You got kapara. Let's keep that simcha. Ezehu ashir, hasamech bechalko. Someone who appreciates and recognizes what they have. When you really recognize what you have, and you realize the fact that that's what you're supposed to have, there's nothing like that in the world. That's the greatest simcha in the world. There was a rabbi, we say a blessing every day. The blessing is, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam. Blessed art thou with the Lord, the King of the universe. That you gave me everything I need. You don't have anything. What do you say back? You see other people having certain things and they think, I want that. And they become jealous of it. And they get caught up in it. What are you jealous of? That's not you. You're not it. That's not you. That's nothing to do with you. It's like a person saying, I'm jealous of that person that has glasses. I don't know glasses, I want glasses. Or you mean like the lenses? Like, no, I have 20/20 vision. I wish I had that vision. Why? My vision's bad. Why? I don't know, right? It makes some sense, right? But that person has a nicer car, I want that. Why? That's nothing to do with you. There's nothing, it's not going to help you. If anything, it's going to hurt you. Comes along Sukkot and it says again, get out of your house, get up, stand up, and get out. Right, get out, you're not even catching. Right, you gotta get out. That's the idea. What happens when you go and you leave and you come to the recognition? That's the idea of a sukkah. So now let's go even further. This is such an. I'm going to share with you such an amazing idea. Oh, it's. I don't know if you can. Okay. Let me share with you first the following. I don't know if this is a Slano Rebbe who says this, or is my brother who said it while quoting the Slano Rebbe. So I have like a lot going on upstairs. Yeah, but it is said that there is a certain group of people in the world, from casino to the next Indian reference. There's a group called the Cherokee Indians. Is anybody familiar with the Cherokee Indians? You know them? What?
I actually met.
You met a Cherokee Indian? I did too. I was actually talking about.
Been the last one.
He was the last of the Mohicans, not the Cherokees, right? But there was a guy sitting in the room in your seat who was a quarter Cherokee Indian. So he actually verified what I'm about to tell you. And the Cherokee Indians have an amazing idea that when a boy becomes a man at like 13 years old, now what happens? There's a custom that the boy goes out into the wilderness, into the forest. He goes all the way out into the forest by himself. And, well, he first gets escorted by his father, and he's taken out, and he's blindfolded. And then he sits on a rock. And then the father says to him, and nobody knows what happens. You're sworn to secrecy that you're not allowed to tell anyone what goes on there. Sounds like some sick horror film. So, how do you know any of these things, right? Somebody spilled the beans and wrote a book and made a lot of money. But the idea is that, and now he's miserable. But the idea is what happens is that he goes out there and his father says to him, son, stay, rock, till you feel sun on face. Then blindfold off, home. How done? So the rules are, for those who don't speak Indian, that he needs to jog for 6 miles around the lake. Everyone understood that? Okay, anyway, what the rules are, you have to go out there and sit on this rock by yourself in the middle of the forest. Has anyone been to a forest before? Has anyone ever gone hiking before? Yeah? Alone. Alone. Alone.
Yes.
You're like, what's the big deal? A bear comes, I'll eat him. Yeah? Alone.
If a bear comes, it'd be the first time in that park.
That you would meet a Cherokee Indian in the forest, right? So you go out there by yourself. Who's done it before? One. Who's gone camping? Who's gone camping? Wow, very few. Embarrassing. Okay, so if you've ever gone camping before and you go out there, it's pretty amazing. It's really amazing. And I don't mean like in your backyard. I mean you really go out there. And you go and you see one thing which is phenomenal, which to me is an amazing, awe-inspiring sight, is marshmallows. Another thing is the stars. Like if you ever see the stars, like it's amazing. I can't even describe it to you. It's what I like to call a wow moment. Last time I saw it, I was driving from Montreal to New York, and I needed to get gas. So we stopped off, it says gas, go off the road, and there's a gas station. But it's one of those gas stations in one of those towns that there's, population 3, and one of them is a murderer. And it's not like right off the road. It's like you come off, and then when you're finally off like 10 minutes, it goes another 20 miles. Like, what? Like, where am I going? It's like into the woods. And even the sign says it like that. It goes into the woods. It's the voice. And basically I go out there and I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, there's no lights here. So what naturally what I do, I shut my lights. Has anyone ever done that when you're driving? Yeah, during the night, right? You shut your lights, and you could see it's pitch black, but you look up, and it's like unbelievable. But the other thing is, it's scary being out there by yourself. There's animals, there's wild things, who knows what's going to be there. So the guy goes out there, and the whole night he's sitting on this rock, and first he hears like, tss, and he's like, oh no, which means oh no. And then he's like, roar, whatever you hear in the forest, yeah? And the kid is freaking out. Comes the morning, he feels sun on face, takes off the blindfold, and his father is standing in front of him. His father was with him the entire time. Now, he didn't know that. He went out there, he thinks, well, what's going to be? And he wakes up and he opens his eyes and he sees his father was with him the entire time. Obviously, you're going to leave your kid out there, like you guys sickos, you're thinking that, right? He said, of course not, right? And then the guy goes home, and if you would tell the next guy, he'd be like, oh, I know, Dad, you're with me, right? So it doesn't say. Yeah, and that's the idea of sworn to secrecy until that guy, and I think they killed him. So the idea is, people, what happens on Sukkot? Sukkot, this is what we do. We go out of our secure homes, right? Don't we all feel secure in our homes? It's really crazy. I don't, hopefully no one should take this in a disrespectful way. I just remember when 9/11 happened, thinking, wow, that was nuts. It totally shook the world. But America, they feel like they are so secure. We're good. We're fine. Everything's all right. Then 9/11 happens. All of a sudden, things aren't so secure. All of a sudden, things aren't so secure anymore. Do you realize, if anyone's ever been if anyone lives in Florida or any of these places, have you ever been in Florida? Which area? So do you remember, you're probably too young, but do you remember like the major tornadoes and like hurricanes that went on there? I don't know, tornado, but hurricane. There was one I think in 94, okay. But this one, I remember my uncle was living there, it like literally ripped off half of his house. Like in Florida, we're not talking about like in the, other places like Oklahoma, I don't know, right? But bottom line is that literally people come back and their homes are gone.
What about Katrina in 06?
That's also an example we could have used. And the idea is what? That it comes to show us that we have no power. We go out into the sukkah to say, God, what do we have to? We have no one to rely on but you. And then what do? We try to drive the whole point home. That we read Koheles. And what's it showing you? Get away from physicality. Move away from these things. These are the things that are bring us down, down, down. These are the things, that's just why I wouldn't have done it. These are the things that are going to destroy us. Therefore, what happens? A person we go out to say, get away from it. Get away from the physical. Get away from whatever type of shoes and pants and shirt and glasses, whatever model and make and number and whatever it is that we have, and just get into the concept that this is the concept. And we go out to the sukkah, and we have the hug of the Lord. Sounds cheesy, but the concept is the hug of the Lord. A sukkah, we know, has to have 3 walls, right? Okay, you can do it like this. Okay, so it's a hug with a little arm. But the idea is, what's a hug? A hug is like this. This is a sukkah. Sukkah has to have at least 3 walls, right? This is a sukkah. So someone comes to give you a hug, and you even see it's like, hey, what's up, man? Right? You're going to keep for the wallet, take it out, and walk away. But But the idea is, that's what it's about. We go into the Sukkah, the Tzil, the Amnusa. This is the Lord, praise be. And we're walking into God's house, essentially. And we're leaving our own home in a way that we go, now, I want to tell you something another thing, even though I'm a minute over, but we're doing it Rabbi Burger style. So I want to tell you another idea, just one more idea that's bothered me. One we solved is Ezo Asher Samech B'Chelko, who is rich, someone who's happy with what he has, because when you're happy with what you have, that's the richest you can be. There's nothing more than that. That's the greatest. Another thing that's bothered me is that this idea of becoming an Eved Hashem. Eved Hashem means to be a servant of God. You know, I don't know if they always teach it in these type of forums, because maybe this is known to be one of the beginner classes, even though it doesn't always end up being beginner people or beginner material. But the idea is that, you know, like the sugarcoat things, so people will get suckered into coming. But I'm going to tell you the real deal, is that it's really talking about being an Eved. The goal is to be an Eved. The goal is to be a slave. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that life? Life is being a slave. If you're from South Africa, I didn't say own a slave, right? I said, right, but to be a slave, right? I know you still have them locked up at home, but the idea is to understand the goal is to be a slave. And you think like, I'm trying to think on my bike here yesterday, how could I try to sell to Judaism to someone in a way which, you know, I'm trying to essentially like entice someone and speak to them about how positive and wonderful it is to be a Jew. But then how could I tell them the truth and tell them like, okay, so Judaism is great. You have Shabbos, you know, and there's singing, and we wave palm branches and lemons, and we eat wafers. And not only that, you're a slave. So you want to come for Shabbos, right? You're like, a slave? What was the last part? Nothing, don't worry about it. It's not like the most important person in Jewish history was a slave. Oh, wait. Moshe Rabbeinu is called the Eved Hashem, the slave, right? Moshe Avdi, he's my slave. And this is like the best. Why is that good? Why is it good to be a slave? Yeah.
Well, if you are just living for yourself, and you recognize that there's something greater than yourself, then you're not living for that, then you're very limited. But if you surrender yourself and you actually don't live yourself, to live just for yourself, but you live for something so much greater than yourself, and even though you're a slave, you're actually more connected to something that is greater than you, so you're actually more rich.
Right, not only that, if I could add to that, excelente, I would say then you actually can be yourself. A person, what are the options? You're either a slave to yourself or to somebody else. Those are the options, right? Or you say, you're not a slave. Not true, everyone's a slave. That's like someone there was a rabbi that was involved with Eish HaTorah by the name of Hillel Weinberg, and someone came to Hillel Weinberg and said to him, oh, you know, you can't smoke on Shabbos. Right? He was trying to show him that you're owned and I'm not. I can smoke on Shabbos. And Rav Hillel said back to him, well, first of all, I don't smoke. But second of all, you can't not smoke on Shabbos. Do you hear? He is coming and saying, you can't smoke on Shabbos. And I'll make it simpler so those who didn't get the double negatives. You have to smoke on Shabbos. What does that mean? He's addicted to it. He's addicted. Which means who are you a slave to? No matter what, you're a slave. Who are you a slave to? You're either a slave to yourself, which case you are, everyone in this room, except for those who aren't, but most of you, unless you just deal them and don't actually use them, are addicted to their phones. You're addicted to your phones. Your phones own you. For those who don't, so they're not you. But everyone else, you are. Yeah? And whatever it is, if the ladies in the room, chocolate. Yeah, you're a slave to chocolate. And then whatever it is that we are a slave to, we are a slave to something. There's something which controls us and which gives us anxiety also. Like, oh my gosh, did I? If we're in control, what happens if things don't go okay? Then all of a sudden I have this stress and I have this, what's going to be? But if you recognize that there's someone above you who's more in control, who's in control of everything that happens for a reason, and it's all proper, and it's chelkecha, and you are recognized that it's your portion, and you are happy with your portion, then you're ashir, and then you're samech, and then life is awesome. So if we put everything together, and then we'll sing together. We put everything together. So what ends up coming out is the following idea. Ezo ashir samech b'chelko. Who's rich? Someone who's happy with what they have. What do you mean someone who's happy with what they have? Someone's rich is rich. Someone who's happy with what they have. It's called who's happy? Someone's happy with what they have. Why is saying rich? Answer is because Howard Hughes apparently was very rich. Maybe financially, a lot of cash, money. That doesn't mean he was happy. It's because he was a miserable beast. If you had a person who felt terrible, it's a life where you died in misery. You have so much money in the world, but you're the most poor person because you can't even take anything from it.
Right? You can't take anything from it. I don't want to ruin his stories if you end up hearing him saying it, but I'll tell you this same rabbi who this morning I was talking to about it, he said that he once went to go solicit money from someone. He went to go to somebody and to ask money from him. And he said to him, the wealthy guy, worth billions of dollars, said to him, I want you to know I honestly believe I can't give you money. I'm sorry, I can't give you. He's like, why? Because you have billions. It's like, I know, but I honestly believe I could lose it any day. Everybody hear the logic? You could lose it, therefore don't give someone some of it because you might lose. You could lose it any day. Everyone got that logic or no?
You don't want to lose less.
Right, exactly. You'd rather lose more. It's like, if I lose it one day, it has to be a lot. Because then I could tell people, ooh, I had a lot and I lost a lot. Because if I give you charity, then I only lost 6 billion and not 8, right? Halavai, they give 2 billion, right? But and then what we have at the end of the day is to come in into a shir, somebody comes to recognize that's what it's all about, people, when you come to recognize this idea of your own thing, everything you have. I don't have anything, that's your chilk. That's your chilk. A person, what you have, that's person. So then you might ask, why is a person daven for anything? By the way, why would you daven for anything? If you're a samech b'chelko, why would you daven? Why would you pray? What are you asking for? Right? People pray for things. What's it to pray for? You're samech b'chelkecha. So why should you pray? What's the answer?
To be a better slave.
Nice. Sounds a little sadistic, but nice. Right? To be a better slave. Correct. Give me another way of saying that, though, because that sounds not as nice for the beginners, let's say. We want to draw them in first. Right? The answer is, that's by ruchnius, not by gashmias. That's by spirituality and not by physicality. Unless the physicality is for the spirituality. We should always be wanting to grow and get more and more in our spirituality. That we don't say we're good. We want to be growing. In terms of physicality, why do you need more? What do you need it for? Rabbeinu B'chayiv even brings down Chovos Halavovos. It's crazy. You could have $1 billion, or you could have $50,000, and there's a good chance for many people you'll only end up spending the $50,000. You go through a person's life, figure out the numbers whatever they actually are. But the bottom line is that those people who are multi-billionaires, they don't end up using any of it. It sits in their account, and then they end up dying, and someone else takes it. It's like, what does it even matter if you have all the money? It doesn't help you. No, because other people will say that you lost a lot of money, right? So what does it come down to? Okay, people, then we got a little bit further and say the concepts. So what's an eved? Why should I want to be an eved? Say, ultimately, so they go to the sukkah, go into the sukkah, don't get caught up in this end of guard the kapos, with the simcha, You come to it when you come to recognize, you make a choice. How do you make a choice? By recognizing the fact that at the end of the day, this is all perfect. This is all great. This is all fantastic. This is all incredible. Now, I obviously pray in order to get closer to you. I want to be on the higher level than I am right now. But the bottom line is what? I'm happy with what I have. Therefore, Ezu Ashir, who's rich. This person who's really rich, but like the Maharal comes and said, you said right in the beginning, is that I have 10 homes. I have 10 homes in some random place. I have one home in one beautiful place. Okay, so obviously it's all relative. It's not going to come out. But ultimately, the person, and this is the most incredible idea, everyone can be rich. Everyone can be rich. In the secular mentality of life, only very few people will ever make it. And those that make it are going to be miserable. Right, exactly. Which I once heard, interestingly, there's the rat race out there. Everyone's heard of the rat race, right? At least in New York, it's a concept. Right? You go out there, the rat race, everyone's finding, what's crazy? If you win, you're the greatest rat. Why is that good? It's saying, why is it called a rat race? It's showing you, wow, you are the worst. You are the worst rat out there. Isn't that amazing? You won. You won the rat race. It's a terrible thing. And the person who want to have something in life, that's come to recognize what's real in life. What's real in life, that's what Eved Hashem means. Why would I want to be an Eved? I want to be an Eved because that's something which is greater, which is above, which I come to recognize it's not in my hands anymore. Now I'm chill. When things don't go the way I didn't want them to go, I'm okay because it wasn't me anyway. I'm not the one in control. I'm an Eved. I work for someone else. The greatest joy in life is to not have the responsibility of any sort of failure. And there's no sort of failure unless you actually don't do your job as the Eved. When you do your job, everything's incredible. And that's why it comes along David HaMelech. And David HaMelech, David HaMelech, says in Tehillim, I would sing it for you and I will. I just wanted to play it as well. I don't have a guitar with me. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Psalms, or Psalms. He says, and we read this in Hallel, and many of us sing it. It's a little bit difficult, I'm not going to lie to you, because the keys change drastically from the low part to the high part, and there's always a challenge which key to pick. But I'm going to start from the high part, so we'll be fine. He says, Ani avdecha ben amasecha, Ani avdecha Ben amosecha ani avdecha, ben amosecha pitachta lemoserai. Na na na, A minor. Ani avdecha. I'll start with an F. Ben amosecha. Someone go to C. Ani av. But the idea is what? That's part of the G at that point. That it comes down to why are we saying this? He says David Melech, I'm your slave. I'm your slave. I'm your servant. Ani avdecha. I'm your slave. Ben amosecha. The son of, what's Amasecha? What's Amasecha? With an aleph. Your maidservant. What's a maidservant? What's a maidservant? It's a slave. So what's he saying? God, you know what the greatest thing is? Not just to be a slave, to be a slave, the son of a slave. I've never felt freedom in my life. Isn't that awesome? Amazing. I never had to have the opportunity to have pain because I could always be looking up to connecting with you. And I'm not the one who's in control, and I could recognize that. And I mean, there's so much more to say, so I'll say it. And that's why we read Koheles. Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, comes along and he says, Hevel, Havolim, Hakol, Hevel. Everything is nothing, enough. Don't get caught up in this world. This world is not what it's about. Life is a highway. And I want to ride it all night long. But unfortunately, sometimes people say it's a highway to hell. But you don't have to worry because there's a stairway to heaven somewhere. And you find it, then you're good. 3. Okay, so we have this. Is that life is this journey. And we say the idea is that nothing in this world is worth it. Don't get caught up in all this silliness. Don't get caught up in like, Sony and Apple and, what I'm saying, and Samsung and cups. Don't get caught up with cups, Right? You're going to miss me when I'm gone. But don't get caught up in all these things. Recognize the effect. And he says, Shlomo Melech, I tried it all. Sorry, Rabbi. He says, sorry, doctor, Rabbi, doctor. He said, I tried it. I tried everything. It's not worth it. I was involved with crack, smack, PCP, LSD, heroin, weed, alcohol, science. I was involved with everything. I was skydiving in the nude. I did everything. It's not worth it. At the end of the day, Sof Tavar, Kol Nishma, Elokim Yerves, Sof Tishmo, Kisei Kol Adam. What's everything about? Yiras Hashem, being Eved Hashem. Therefore, people, this sukkah is coming from a couple days. Come to recognize this. Think about these things. Be aware of it. As we walk out of our homes, or as we take the roof off our homes, recognize the fact that we're walking the Tzila Damnusa into the hug of God. We're walking to the concert of the Cherokee Indians, and he's sitting there the whole time watching us. And keep the simcha of the kapara. Recognize the joy of the fact that I have atonement here. And when we keep that simcha, what ends up happening is then we don't feel any need to do any sort of sin. And we don't get caught up in the other parts of the world which are going to bring us down. And that's the real osher, that's the real ashir. And that, my friends, in a nutshell, is what part of Simcha is about. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you when I see you. If I don't take care and bye-bye.